right? Myself, Girish. I'm a senior member technical staff working for Chipet Technologies Private Limited. So welcome to the title webinar, Physical Design for latest trends and challenges in VLSI design. So we all know what is physical design, and I would like to go through what is physical design again with this agenda. First, I'll take you through what is ASIC design flow, and then I'll go to one of that block as physical design flow. Through that, I'll take you. I'll go in depth of physical design flow, right? Then what are the challenges faced by the physical design engineer, and what are the trends in it? And finally, I'll take you through the career opportunities in VLSI industry, right? Just a quick check. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, thank you. Okay, okay, thank you. All right. With that, I told clearly once more, my agenda for the day is I'll take you through the ASIC design flow. What are the different stages in the ASIC of a chip to come out of the to the market? Means what are the flow it takes through. Then one of the ASIC flow, important flow is physical design. I'll take you through the physical design flow in depth, and what are the challenges and trends faced by physical design engineers today. And lastly, I'll get you into career opportunities in VLSI industry. With that, we will go to ASIC design flow. See, whenever a chip need to be manufactured, whenever a chip to be fabricated, so they come up with what should be the functionality of this chip, what should be the functionality, how what it should work like. So you have seen many of your friends giving the titles for the projects, right? So they have come up with some functionality. So that's the functionality, right? And some requirements can be what should be the clock frequency, what at what clock operating frequency it should work. In simplicity to say, we say it as performance. What should be the performance of the chip? What should be the power consumption by the chip, right? How much power it should consume, we declare, right? And then we come up with something called as area parameters. What should be the area, height or width, all those parameters. So for a chip, there will be a set of functionalities defined and the requirements. With these, or I can simply call them as specifications, design specifications. Once the design specifications are like they have decided with those design specifications, the design specifications are given to RTL descriptions, RTL engineers. These are the people who write the code, for the functionality for the chip, right? So they know the functionality. To reach that functionality, they write the code. The code can be in the VHD in the form of VHDL or Verilog or System Verilog. Nowadays, people are not writing much using VHDL, so mostly used are Verilog and System Verilog. So RTL engineers will write the programs to meet the functionality given in the design specifications. So once they're happy with their code, they go for the simulations of the code. They do simulations, give some different inputs, see that output is matching, right? Once they're again happy with the simulations, then comes a people called as functional verification people. What they do is they are like test engineers. They're test engineers. They test the code written by these RTL people. The Verilog code is ready. These people, the verification team, will test the code give some different test vectors and see that it is meeting the functionality or not, right? If Verilog code is not meeting the functionality, there is some bug or malfunctioning of the code, they will report it back to the RTL people saying that this is not working for this test vectors, right? For some input combinations, output is not proper. So again, these RTL people need to revisit the code and then correct it. So once the functional verification people team says that the code is thoroughly tested, it is meeting all the functionality requirements, then it goes to people called as synthesis. See, you remember we have all written the coding either in VHDL or Verilog. So in Verilog, if you simply go back and recall, you have some for loop, if loops, while loops kind of, right? So these for loop, if loops cannot be physically implemented. I repeat, The for loop if loops are not physically implemented. To physically implement, the code should be in the form of gates. Gates, I mean to say standard cells, the AND gate, NAND gate, NOR gate. In that form, it should be. So there should be someone to convert my Verilog code, the for loop, if loop, into gate level. So the synthesis people are the one who convert the RTL code into the netlist. Netlist will be a collection of the standard cells. I have a next page where I'll show you how is the netlist. So synthesis people will convert your Verilog into netlist. We also call it as gate level netlist. So the for loop if loops are replaced with standard cells, AND gate, OR gate, muxes, sorry, flip flops kind of things, right? So for the synthesis team, the inputs are the Verilog code, and along with that, we need something called as logical library. Logical library is one which contains the information of the standard cells. The standard cells means AND gate, NAND gate, right? The information of it. What information is the power information? What power the standard cell will consume? The AND gate, how much power it consumes? What are the timing it will operate at? Timing delays. What is the rise time, fall time? How much power it consumes? All that informations will be given in the logical library. So logical library and the RTL is an input for synthesis team. The output by the synthesis team will be the gate level netlist. Along with generating the netlist, there's one more team called design for test engineers who will introduce an extra logic so that the chip can be tested after fabrication. So I repeat, DFT are the people who will introduce an extra logic to the netlist so that the chip can be tested. Last stage I'm showing you package and test there to test. So these DFT people will introduce some extra logic into the design. So now the netlist is ready, which is actually a connection of gates which meets the same functionality, no change in the functionality remains the same. Along with that, some extra things depending on the DFT people. Now goes the physical design. Physical design, accepting this netlist, will take the netlist, which is the list of gates, right? These people are responsible to place all those gates in the given area, connect them, I mean to say, perform the routing, connect the nets wherever necessary, and also see that the clock signal reaches all the flip flops required, right? So physical design people are meant for that, placing the standard cells and performing the routing in simple, right? For them, they again need the logical library. They also need something called as physical library. Physical library is again for the standard cells area information. What is the height, what is the width, what are the metal layers that AND gate or an AND gate is taking. So such information will be there in the physical library. Along with that, they also need a file called TLU plus files. TLU plus files contain RC information of the metal layers. See, while doing physical design, we will draw the metal wires. So some metal from gate AND gate to the some next NAND gate, right? There will be a metal. So if I draw a metal of some size, what will be the resistance of that wire? What will be the capacitance of that wire? Will be defined in the file called as TLU plus files. And also there are some rules to be followed while drawing the metal layers, and those rules are given in the file called as technology file. So these will be the inputs for the physical design, right? Once physical design engineer is completed up to routing stage, he will go for a stage called as sign off. Sign off is one where we fix the timing violations. There may be timing violations. I'll take you through what does timing violations means, right? So all the timing violations should be met. In simple, I'll tell you. Take for an example, there's an flip flop. The data for the flip flop should reach well in advance, which is called as setup time. Hope you all know that what is setup time of a flip flop, right? So that the sign off people should cross check whether all the D flip flops are getting the data in time or not, right? So if not, inform the physical design engineer saying that these are the cells which are not meeting the timing, right? That is a job by the timing people. In simplicity to say, you might have heard of STA engineers. So these are the STA engineers. Then we have physical verification engineers who will test for the routing problems, routing issues, right? So the routing means you might have studied some lambda based design rules. So whenever you're drawing a metal wires, there should be some rules followed, which the rules are given by the foundry people. So metal to metal distance so much, pitch should be so much, thickness should be so much, it should not be more than that. Some rules are there. So those rules should be followed. If the physical design engineer has not followed those rules, physical verification team will inform the physical designer that these rules are violated, and they can also suggest how it can be fixed. So this will be in the loop until there are no timing violations and there are no physical violations. Physical verification should be completed. So once this cycle is complete and they are saying that timing is fine, no DRC violations, no LVS violations, then it actually goes for the fabrication. So in the fab, actually, physically the chip will get ready. Once the chip is ready, it comes for packaging and testing. Testing again based on DFT, right? That will be tested. So this is my ASIC flow. So once it is packaged and tested, it's in the market. See, for performing all this, earlier I know people were doing by hand, placing the standards and all when it was small scale, right? Now it is all more than VLSI. So for to do all this, it cannot be manual anymore. Most of the things are done by the tools. Tools are simply called as EDA tools. So there are tools for almost for every stage here. So the tool used for synthesis by Synopsys is Design Compiler, and Cadence is called Genus. See, Synopsys and Cadence are the EDA vendors. They are not the tools. People will misunderstand this words. They say Synopsys is a tool. Synopsys is not a tool. Synopsys is a EDA vendor. They have tools for different purposes. So similarly, there are tools for physical design by Synopsys. Earlier, we used to use ICC. Now it's ICC2, right? Cadence. Earlier, they used to call it as Encounter. Now, a recent version is called as Innovus. For timing sign off, here for sign off, timing sign off, Synopsys uses Prime Time and Cadence uses Tempest. For physical verification, Synopsys we use IC Validator, Cadence uses physical verification system, and the Mentor Graphics uses Caliber, right? I hope the flow was fine. You were able to get or grasp something out of this. Any doubts till then? Any doubts till then? Quickly, any questions for me till then? Are you able to follow? Are you able to follow? Okay, thank you, Rahul. Thank you, thank you. Okay, fine. I'm going ahead. So ASIC design flow is complete. So we will get with the specifications, we are ready with the chip in the market, right? So I will take you through the physical design, which is the topic of my discussion for today. So inside physical design, these are the processes that we need to do. First stage is, I'll take you through each stage in next slides in detail. So first stage is design import, where we will read in, 1 second, I need to take this call. Okay, sorry for that. Able to hear me, right? First stage is design import. What is design import is, see, we had a netlist, right? Netlist given by the synthesis team. And we need to read in the logical library, physical library, TLE plus files, technology files. You remember the words, right? Netlist is given by the synthesis team. And We know a logical library is required, physical library is required, TLU plus files are required, technology file. All these are read into the tool. For example, I'll take Synopsys tool. I'm using right now ICC2. So for the ICC2, I need to read in all these files. So that is called as design import. Reading the files in simple, I can say design import. Then you'll plan where the things should be. Where the things means, for example, we'll consider the where my input ports should be on the left hand side at the top side. For simply to say, let's take a rectangular chip, right? We will have four sides. So where should be the input ports be located? On the left hand side, okay. Where should be the output ports? On the left hand side, and sorry, right hand side on the top, right? Input ports, output ports. Where should be in out ports? Where should be the clock port? Where should be the power ports? All that planning will be done. That is floor planning. It's like getting a sketch for your house, kind of. That is floor planning. You don't really do things there, but you plan the things. That is floor planning. Then you really actually do the placement. Placement is placing your standard cells. See, I told you standard cells, you'll have thousands of standard cells to be placed. Manual placement is impossible. Manual placement is impossible. They are so tiny, you cannot move them manually. So the tools are there to place them. They follow some placement algorithms. Based on that, they will place the standard cells in the given area. So placement is one stage. Then once placement is completed, we do some timing analysis, timing optimization if required. Tool will usually try to do its best to meet the timing. If not, manual intervention is required. So we will fix the timing and optimize for it. Okay, after that we go for clock tree synthesis. Clock tree synthesis in simple, you have a clock pin, right? Clock signal where it enters into the chip. From there, you are routing to all the flip flops. For all the flip flops which have this clock pin, to that it should reach. So clock tree synthesis is about building that clock tree from the clock pin to all the flip flops. So once clock tree synthesis is completed, again you have something called as post-ETS optimization, timing optimization. See, again, tool will try to fix the violations, but if it is not able to do it, we should do it. We engineers should do fix it, right? Then after timing optimization of post-ETS, we will go for routing. This routing is signal routing. Get the difference between clock tree synthesis. Clock tree synthesis is about routing only the clock nets, but routing is other signal nets. For example, if you take an adder, right? So A, B, C in our input, sum and carry our outputs. These are my signals. So routing A, B, C in and sum carry is the routing. So routing will happen in the routing stage. Once routing is completed, again we will do timing optimization. Timing is a major concern. So again, every time you can see timing kind of, right? So time, if timing is not met, chip will not work. You might have done everything, but chip will not work if timing is not met. So we are more worried about timing. Again, we will do timing optimization. Then it will be sent for final sign off. As I discussed, physical verification people will do DRC and LVS fixes. Timing analysis STA people will fix your timing. And it's an iterative process. If they are not happy with them, they'll send it back to us. For the PD people, we need to look into, maybe we need to look into from floor planning again, right? All those things we need to worry. So once timing and DRCs are clean, we then go for something called as power analysis, the IR drop analysis, and one more word, EM analysis. I may not be able to explain what is EM right now. Please, you can study that is electromagnetic analysis. So you can please try out of that what is EM means, right? Once IR drop analysis and EM analysis is completed, it goes for tape out. Tape out means going to the fab for fabrication, right? This is the flow. So taking you through each step individually. First is design import. So design import, as I told you, we need the files to be written. What are the files? The first file is netlist, the design netlist, which contains the functionality. Who gives us this file is synthesis team. I have discussed already. Synthesis team will give me this file. What it contains, the cells to be used and their interconnections. That information will be there, right? One more file called timing constraint file and simple .sdc, again given by the synthesis team, right? What will this contain is some timing constraints, maybe like what will be the delays in the inputs, what will be the output delay, or what clock frequency your chip should work, All such things will be given in the timing constraints file. I have already discussed what is logical library. Logical library is the logical information of the standard cells. In simple again, AND gate is there. How AND gate works, how much time it takes to give me the output, how much power it consumes. These three informations will be there in the logical library. The logical library will contain all the gates that you name: a two input AND gate, three input AND gate, four input AND gate, like that, right? And for others, NAND, NOR, XOR, name any gate that you have studied in your digital electronics, those gates information will be there in the logical library. Who gives it as the vendors? Vendors will give us the logical library. Similarly, for every logical library, there should be mapping physical library. So you have an AND gate, two input AND gate. How it works is explained in logical library. How it looks means what is its height, what is its width, right? All such information will be in the physical library. What metal layers it is using, where are the metal layers in that information will be in the physical library, right? Then we have TLU plus files. As I told, it contains the R and C information, resistance and the capacitance. See, we are doing the routing, right? Logical library, physical library will contain the information of the standard cells. But for the information of the metal layers, we need to we need to know R and C. By that only I can calculate the delay taken by the wires. So delay taken by the wires is indirectly calculated using the R and C values, and the R and C values are in TLU plus files. And some metal layer information will be there in the technology file. So these are six important files that we read. We have other files also to read in, but I don't need to discuss them right now. So these are the six important files that we read into my physical design tool. So once I read in these files into my tool, I'm good to go with the next step, right? To simply explain, I have a sample of netlist here. See, this is my RTL code. The code looks like a counter, right? A clock is there, reset pin, C out. So always at posits of clock. If reset is there, then C out is 0, else count is equal to count plus 1. So it's a simple up counter, a 3-bit up counter, right? So this is my RTL code written by the RTL engineers, right? If it is thoroughly tested by verification engineers, okay, it's working as a 3-bit counter, you can go ahead. Then it will be released to synthesis team. See, as I told you, it contains an if loop, always loop. This cannot be physically implemented. So this entire part should be converted into gate level. So converting this into gate level, see here, this is my gate level. So this is done by the synthesis team. So this to this by the synthesis engineers. The remaining parts remain almost same. The module name, counter, right? The inputs and the output names, what size it is. Some wires have been declared extra. Apart from that, so this always at positive clock edge, if loop, this entire thing has been changed to this. What I mean by this is, see, you may remember, you may recall a 3-bit counter will have three flip flops, right? Three flip flops, some extra logic. You might have written design a counter using excitation tables, right? So if you're able to recall that, we need three D flip flops or three JK flip flops or three T flip flops to design any 3-bit counter. 4-bit counter means you need four flip flops. So for this, there are three D flip flops required. Along with that, some two XOR gates, one OR gate, one AND gate, one inverter. So totally 3, 6, 8 gates are required to implement. I repeat, 8 gates are required to implement this design. How they are connected internally is given here. See, clock pin goes to the clock D flip flop, D pin with some net. All the information is here. So this is my net list. This is the input for the PD engineer. So my PD job is to place these 8 standard cells in the given area, place these 8 standard cells in the design area, connect these nets using some metal layers, connect the clock pins. See, all these three flip-flops are getting clock. Clock is an input port. Through that, it should go to these three flip-flops. So job is to connect these three. And in the CTS stage and in the routing stage, connect all of these so that you see that the output is a 3-bit counter. Hope you understood something from netlist now. right? So now, first, second stage after design import is the floor plan. As I told you, floor plan in simple, you decide what should be the area where components should sit. Components may be like modules, where modules should sit, where input ports and output ports should sit. You plan the positions of input ports and output ports. I can simply compare it with your house. If you are planning for a house construction, right? On a pen and paper, you sit and decide where the kitchen should be, where the bedroom should be, where the puja room, where the hall, where the doors should be, right? Where windows should be. All this you plan, right? That is floor plan, right? Even for a chip, we do floor plan, right? So what is a good floor plan? Even you will think, right, when your floor plan is ready, when you are planned your house, you will decide how it is good, right? So here, good floor plan is it should consume minimum chip area. That is one constraint. It should consume minimum chip area. Routing should be easy. Last stage I do routing, right? For that stage also I should have a concern about routing stage and see that routing is easy. So I am placing some things, so see that routing can be easy, there is enough space for routing. Improve signal delays, see that the delay between the path, right, is minimal by your floor plan. There are two types of floor plans, based on pad and the core, pad limited and core limited. This is pad limited. Pad limited is one where if you have more input and IO ports, look at this, there are more input and IO ports. So they will define you the total area. That is pad limited. No, sir, I have less input ports and output ports. Then core will define the area. So the core is bigger here. So core will define it. You can see there are some, let me take simple example of, there are 5 rooms, right? So there are different plans. This is one plan. I'm planning one, room numbers 1 2 here, 3 4 5 this way. This is one floor plan. There may be one more floor plan placing the same rooms in a different order. So you might have got an example of what is floor plan, right? The challenges are these legally placed? See, this, there should be no overlaps on these. 2 and 5 should not overlap. 4 and 1 should not overlap. So those things should be taken care. And also, you should see that timing violations. I told you again, setup and hold. Please recall, you might have all studied what is setup time and hold time. In simple to say again, setup time is you have a D flip flop, right? So the data reaching the D flip flop should come bit early than the clock edge. For example, you think you have a bus at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. in the morning. You should reach the bus stop by 9:55, correct? 9:55, you should reach the bus stop. So that 5 minutes is the setup time. You should be early by 5 minutes. That is setup time. Okay, after 10 o'clock you should be there for some time, that is called hold. To board the bus, you should be, you cannot just leave at 10 o'clock and you don't think, assume that you have boarded the bus, right? So that is like, after 10 o'clock you should be there for 1 or 2 minutes to board to the bus. That is hold time. So after the clock edge comes, the data should be stable. The data should be stable for some amount of time, that we call it as hold time. So these are the two main things that we are always worried throughout this flow. So you should check whether timing violations are under control or not. So these two are the main challenges for floor plan. If everything goes for a task, finally routing is not happening, CTS is not happening, something bad with your floor plan, we visit floor plan again to see the stage, right? Next is power plan. Power plan is planning the power for your house. See, you go back to your digital electronics lab, you might have seen your chip, right? The chip contains one VDD pin and VSS pin. If I'm not wrong, seventh pin is your ground pin, 14th pin is your VSS pin for most of the standards gates, like 7400, 7404, 7436, right? Seventh pin is the ground pin, 14th pin is the VSS pin. So through these pins, the power gets in. The main chip is inside, so to through that the power gets in. Then in the chip you have something called as power pads. So this is what I'm showing in blue and light pinkish, right? These are the power pads. So the seventh pin will come to this, or I can say here blue is ground. So seventh pin is connected to this ground pin, and this is connected to 14th pin. Depending on the power requirement, number of power pads will be calculated. More power required, more power pads. Here you can see this design has four pair of power pads, right? So one, two, three, four on all the four sides. Depending on the power requirement, there is some calculation to calculate how many pair of power pads are required. So this is how I get this from the seventh pin connected to this green one, which is ground, and from the 14th pin to this VDD, right? So this is the actual chip inside. We will draw something called as IO rings, power rings, one VDD ring across the chip and one ground ring across the chip. This will be the main power supply to my chip. There are secondary supplies which are called as straps. We call them as straps. Look at this. The strap is simple, a straight line like a wire from VDD to VDD, and a ground strap is from ground to ground. A line is drawn. So these are for internal power connections. These will be like secondary connections for my supply. Then we will have something called as rails. Rails here, as the small thin red line is there, and you can see a blue line. So these are called rails where my standard cells will sit. You might be seeing these small white boxes. These are the standard cells. Standard cells will be very small in size. So these are the standard cells, right? They will be sitting along the rails. At the top end will be like power, the VDD, and the bottom will be like ground, right? So, what are the challenges in this is you need to check whether all the cells are being properly connected to the power, and then you have drawn the power lines, right? Is it the following the DRC rules or not? This should follow the DRC rules, right? So you need to cross check that DRC rules are not violated. That is about power plan. Next, you have placement. Placement is about placing the standard cells. See, as an example I took, there are only eight standard cells, three D flip flops, and two XR gates. That would be simple. Manually, I can do. Think of thousands, lakhs, or millions of standard cells to place them. Definitely humanly impossible. So tools are there, commands are there to do it. So you can see the standard cells are placed. A D flip flop, AND gate. As I told you, these are the rails, standard cell rails. On the rails properly, they'll sit. So whenever they sit, they are powered up with VDD and VSS. So to read out here, placement is the process of placing the standard cells in the rows created in the power plant stage. Standard rails created in the power plant stage. So on that, I need to place these standard cells. Placing is a big task actually. It's not as simple as I'm explaining you, right? So goal is to minimize the total area that they consume. Interconnect cost, metal wires, right? If you measure the total cost, we say that should be minimum, right? Quality of routing, when I'm going for a routing stage, quality of routing definitely depends on placement of these standard cells. If they are properly placed, routing will be easy. If not, we are going for a task for routing, right? Stages, there are three stages in placement. One is global placement, which is rough placement, I can call. Simply roughly it will place, that is global placement. Then legalize the placement means placing them properly on the rows is called legalized placement. Initially in the global placement, they'll be scattered, overlapping on each other. But when legalized placement happens, they are not overlapped on each other, and they are sitting properly on the rails. Then next is detailed placement, where optimization will take place based on the placement that has already happened. That is the third stage. So, what are the challenges? The tool may violate, I told you, legalized placement to place standard cells properly, right? It may fail sometimes, right? So, those should be taken care. That is, placing placing the standard cells. Then we have something called cell density. See this cells, right? Somewhere in the region, they may be overcrowded. It should not happen. If they are overcrowded, a routing will be a problem, so that should be taken care. There should be no more dense standard cells, or even pins should not be dense at some region. And then we have something called as congestion. Congestion means there should be enough space between the standard cells for the routing to go through. I repeat, there should be enough space between the standard cells for the routing to go through. If they are crowded, again you will face problem in the routing. That is called as congestion. So there are some measures to solve the cell density, pin density, and the congestion. Apply them, solve them. See, tool has tried its best to solve these three, but if it is not able to do, we need to do, and we need to fix this. Legally placing, cell density, pin density, congestion, we need to take care. And at last, again, as I repeat, timing should be under control. We will take check for the timing, how many violations are there, so it should be under control. That's about placement stage. Then comes the clock tree building. You need to build the clock tree. As I told you, look at this diagram. There's a clock pin. A clock pin you might have seen in any ICs where you have a clock pin, right? So internally you have so many flip-flops. You can see in the diagram here, D flip-flop, D flip-flop, right? There are so many D flip-flops. Just here in this row only, I'm seeing some 8 to 10 D flip-flops. So they are all D flip-flops will have a clock pin. So this clock uh, which is starting from the IO port, right, input port, should reach all of them. Should reach all of them is not as simple as I told, just draw metal wire here. No. See, this D flip flop, which is very closest to the clock pin, will get the clock very early, and this one, which is at the farthest, will get late. This should not happen. Most of the designs are synchronous. The clock should reach all of them at the same time. So we have a problem in building this clock tree, right? We need to insert more buffers in this path so that this D flip flop will get the clock somewhat later, so that by the time this there's one more path to reach this D flip flop, and both get the clock at the same time, right? So that is called a skew. A skew is nothing but the delay in the clock getting reaching the flip flops. So we always expect it to be minimal. Ideal conditions is zero. All flip flops here should get the clock signal at the same time. Insert as many buffers as you want or inverters. See that the clock reaches all the flip flops at the same time, which may not be possible. So uh, coming out of ideal conditions, practically we expect minimal skew. Minimal skew. The timing difference should be very minimal. And next is latency. We take care about the time taken for the clock to travel should be less. That is what we one more thing to take care about, right? So what are the challenges? Again, after doing this, are the timing violations under control? Once you are done, is the skew and latency are minimal? You should check. You should also check whether the clock is reaching all the clock pins or not. So there are the challenges during you build the clock tree. Once clock tree is fine, happy, you do something called as post-TTS optimization. After post-TTS optimization, you go for routing. Routing is actual routing of signal nets, the other pins, right? Other than clock pin, the routing. You can see the diagram here. Metal wires are all drawn. See, drawing metal wires means we don't usually use one metal. One metal is not sufficient today. For example, in the roads, you see traffic is more. What they're doing, they're bringing a flyovers. Upon that, you have a metro. So they are like a second stage, third stage. Similar to that, we have metal one, metal two, metal three kind of. We call it as metal stack. Metal stack, the 9 metal stack, 12 metal stack, 14 metal stack are also there, right? So just a layers, so flyovers like on your road. So local connections are done in metal 1, next level connections are done in metal 2, above connections are done with metal 3 kind of. You can see here these thick lines, what you're seeing are the straps. See, one VDD strap and a VSS strap, which I demonstrated in the power plant stage, right? You hope you might have known something called as vias. When you want to connect different layers, metal 1 to metal 3, I want to connect, you need to use a vias. These dots like what you are seeing are called are vias. Here these dots are called as vias, right? Different via structures are there, so depending on that, they are looking different. Even this is a via, this is a via, and these are vias. These are the metal wires which you are seeing in green or purple or something, right? These are the metal wires which are used to connect. Again, metal routing has three stages. One is global routing. Global routing is again a rough routing. It calculates, okay, I need to connect this to this. How should I do? Next comes the track assignment. Track assignment is assigning the tracks for the routes. Then actual routing is done in the stage called detailed routing, right? These are the three stages. So once your detailed routing is complete, I can simply say physical design flow is completed. Physical design flow is completed. But the challenges are, did I meet the DRC rules given by the foundry? Thickness of this wire should be so much. There should be distance between this metal and this metal should be so much, right? Those rules are defined to me. Am I following those rules or not as a concern, right? Is this layout which I have drawn, is it actually matching with my netlist? The netlist which was given by synthesis team, right? Kind of, we need to match it. That is one thing, right? Then still the timing violations are under control, and total power consumed is under control. So those things should be worried, right? So this is my last stage of physical design flow. Once we are happy with the timing, sign off, I mean to say, DRC and LVS violations are fixed, timing are fixed, no more violations, then we generate a file called as GDS2 file. GDS2 file is the final output of the physical design flow, which goes to the foundry, to get the chip manufactured, right? So this is the end of physical design flow. Just to summarize the challenges that I face during this all process, as I told you, the number of gates, right? The number of AND gates, NAND gates is a big trouble for me. Lakhs and lakhs, millions, they call, right? That is troubling me a lot nowadays. You might have heard of Moore's law, which states every 18 months, number of transistors in a chip doubles, right? So we are still following that Moore's law. Every 1.5 years, the number of transistors are really getting doubled. The technology is shrinking, the number of transistors are doubling. So that is causing more challenge to the physical design engineer. As I already discussed, congestion, cell density, pin density will cause me a big problem. There's one more called signal integrity, that is crosstalk. To simply define crosstalk, see, there are two metal wires going parallel like this, right? There may be a capacitance which comes, parasitic capacitor, a metal, and an insulator kind of in between. So there may be a capacitor kind of. So there may be a crosstalk between. Crosstalk means if this is carrying some logic high, and this may disturb the signal on this, right? So this disturbance, we call it as crosstalk. So this should be avoided. Avoiding is either place them far away so that your capacitance is minimal, or you have some other extra routing in between so that you shield this net from this, right? So that is called a signal integrity. Even that should be taken care. Crosstalk should be very minimal. There will be crosstalks, but they should be very minimal. Then power is one more constraint area where you need to worry about what is the leakage power, what is the dynamic power consumed, what are the short circuit powers in the circuit. Can I minimize them? Yes, we can minimize them. We don't have only one set of logical library. We do have various different logical libraries. What I mean by different is, depending on the threshold voltage of operating, we have different libraries. Simply to say, let me tell, HVT library. HVT is a library where threshold voltage is more. More the threshold voltage means lesser, it will consume less power, power, but it will take more time. The delay will be more. So it is HVT cell is good for power but bad for timing. There are other set of cells called LVT cells, which are very fast in operating. Delay taken by them is less, but power consumption is more. So I need to choose between them. I need to choose between whether I should use LVT cells or the HVT cells, right? So I had discussed timing, setup and hold. I had told you, right? We need to fix something called as maximum transition. Rise time, fall time. Even that should be taken care. right? Whether the signal is the rise time of the signal is proper or not. Maximum capacitance, there's an AND gate which is driving some fan out, right? Some 10 gates it's driving. So what is the capacitance of those standard cells? And it should be calculated and it should be kept minimum, not crossing this max cap values. And while doing all this, we know that as temperature increases, delay increases. But now for lower technologies, so new thing has come, which is called temperature inversion. Please, those who are interested, read something on temperature inversion. Once the temperature decreases, the delay is getting more. So that is also causing me a problem for lower technologies. With this, we are worried about area. Area is a challenge because in the specification, the guy has told me area of the chip should be so much. It should not cross more than this number. So I'm worried about that area number, right? Fine, if it's only digital circuitry, I don't have more issues. But if I have mixed signal designs, right, you have unlock blocks, like there is an ADC sitting, DAC sitting, a PLL sitting in the circuit, then your concerns are more, right? A mixed signal design is a tough job. One of your friend was claiming he has done worked on mixed signal design also, right? Along with that, runtime, the time taken by the tool or the total flow should be in limit. These are the challenges for the design, right? With the challenges, I would like to see, are there any questions? Or you are in sync with me? Is it everybody not seeing the slides? Can someone post? Were you able to see the slides? Someone reply. Okay, others are NBT is saying no seeing slide. Now I'm not presenting the slides. Earlier I had shown you, right? Okay, that's great. Thanks for all those who replied. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I had two questions. If placement is done and we find, I think you are also able to see the question. So there's one question from Vijayashree. If placement is done and we find some timing violations, then what to do? We can't reverse the placement as we have already placed it. No, we can redo the placement, madam. We will go visit back, set some different constraints, and then we will do it. It's not one time done. See, I'm not physically doing it, right? I'm still in the stage of tool software. I'm doing it. If I go for a fabrication, then it's a problem. Now I'm doing in the tool, so I can every time, anytime go and revisit it. Even for your question, we don't start with one floor plan. We will have multiple floor plans. For multiple floor plans, we will do placement. So one or the other floor plan will be definitely good. All right. Yes, for your question, we can't reverse the placement. No, we can reverse the placement. It's just one command. Placement will be reversed. I take care. I have not yet physically done it. Right. I'm just doing it in the tool. That's the answer for your question. At placement stage, if timing is not optimized by tool, how can we manually optimize? Can you explain by example? It's a depth question, Nagaraju. Yes, if it see by following some algorithms, you can read some placement algorithms. So by following the placement algorithm, the tool has tried to optimize. If it is not able to, definitely we manually we should do. I can simply say, if there is a cell density more, right? More cells are sitting in one place. What I can do is I can set a constraint. They should spread across. There is a number. You can say that something called a cell padding. You can tell the tool place them away by this distance. We say in schools, right? One arm distance, right? When you are standing for a prayer, when we were crowded, our teacher, PT teacher used to tell you, set one arm distance. Like that, I can set a one arm distance between the standard cells. Then they are spreaded across. Then you have solved the issue. Hope I answered your question, Nagaraju. Right, Madhavi Singh, there's a question. How the setup time and skew is differs? Can you brief about timing violations? Can we ignore those specific type of timing violations? Third question, no, you cannot violate any questions, any violations. You cannot ignore. You cannot ignore. How the setup time and skew is differs, madam. Setup time is different. Setup time is how early you should come. That's it. See, 10 o'clock you have a bus, 9:55 you should go. That is setup time. 5 minutes early to the bus stop is setup time. Skew is different. Skew is different in terms of what times the clock reaches the flip-flops. That is skew. There is no relation between there is a relation, but don't compare in terms of setup time and skew. Okay, there's a relation. Definitely, there's a relation between setup time and skew. Can you brief about timing violations? Hard to get. It's a big story. Let me try at the end. If time permits, I'll explain. I'm 4 year experience in physical design. I'm confident in the concepts, but I not used ICC so far. What is my career challenge? Mohan, I'll take that question at the later. What tools available as open source? I can list you, Rahul. I will send you the details. Right. This PD engineer is dependent on mixed signal design engineer. Raj Gopal, yes, in terms of, but we have some measures to take care. If an ADC block or a PLL block is there, how to isolate that from distal blocks? We have some measures to do it. What and all measures we need to take care if you have unlock macros during physical design? Yes, that's what I told. If you have unlock macros, you will actually have some isolation between them and the distal design. You'll draw some a ring across them, a power separate power supply for them, and isolate them from your design. Difference between skew and latency. I told you skew is the time difference between first flip flop and second flip flop. Consider two flip flops. What is the time the first flip flop is getting, the second flip flop is getting? The difference between them. Latency is the time taken to travel to one flip flop. The time taken to travel to that one flip flop is latency. NBT, every stage is a challenge. It's not like floor plan is a challenge, routing is a challenge. No, every stage is a challenge. I listed out the challenges, right? So every stage is a challenge. Why we check setup time only at placement, not hold? Why after? Yeah, these are big questions, man. I need more time. Gajanand, right? Please, you can browse within this time limitation. I cannot explain all this. In simply to say, before after placement, after CTS, you have the actual clock tree built, and hold is dependent more on the skew numbers. See, your skew or the clock is ideal before CTS. Clock is ideal before CTS. So setup is okay. Setup depends more on the clock signal, clock frequency, but hold depends on the skew more. So let me not try with the ideal values of skew. So once CTS is completed, you have the proper skew numbers. So it is good to check your hold after CTS. May know what is meant by cell site. Cell site is the area where your standard cell will sit. The minimum area, the I have shown in the diagram, right? A standard cell is sitting. A standard cells can be multiples of the cell site, right? That is cell site. On what basis the standard cells are placing? There are algorithms for placing the standard cells based on the congestion, based on the timing. The standard cells are getting placed. How to control latency and skew during CTS? Yeah, we have what buffers to be used. We need to set what buffer. The question is how to control latency and skew during CTS. You can set the what skew you want, what latency you want. You can set it for the tool before running the CTS command, right? See that CTS command is following the numbers that you are given, and it follows mainly based on your numbers that you are given and the buffers that you have mentioned for the CTS to use, right? That is for Vaishaka, right? What is corners? Yeah, I'll take what is corners if time permits, Tinku Kumar. Okay. I'm fine with that. There are more questions. What is the typical day of a wedding? Then the tool does routing. Typical. What do you mean by what is a typical day for a PD engineer? You mean as a tool does routing placement? Yes, I told no challenges when the tool fails, right? You need to take care. NBT, I don't know what's the name. NBT, see, the tool will perform, but Whenever tool violates, right, I need to fix them. Yeah, debug C programs mostly. Yes, even I need to debug what the tool has done. I also need to debug what the tool has done. Right. With that, I'll continue. Thanks for your questions. Hope you're following it. Please excuse with the time constraint. I may not be able to answer your questions completely. Right. Okay. With the challenges, what is the current trend? Current trend is mainly of your Moore's law, as I discussed. The size of the transistor is shrinking. What I mean by size, the channel length. The channel length is the distance between the source and the drain. The source and the drain, the distance, right? So that channel length is diminishing day by day. Presently, we are talking about 7 nanometer, 5 nanometer also, right? As it is shrinking, number of transistors in the chip will definitely double, right? So that is my technology is shrinking day by day. You can see 2020 we are at 5 nanometer. Some people like Samsung are saying they're working on 3 nanometer also. What drives this? What drives for more chips is high performance computing. We need more performing computers now, right? That drives my VLSI industry. Mobile computing drives. For presently, IoT is driving my industry, the VLSI industry. So, what are the trends in physical design is for every 2 to 3 years, people are looking at increasing the performance by 14%. Increasing the performance means the operating frequency. If I say today it's at 100 megahertz, by 2 or 3 years, 15% more than that 100 megahertz they are looking at. And power they are looking at diminishing by 30%. People are working towards reducing the power by 30% for every 2 to 3 years. They're working on reducing the area by 30%. And at the same time, cost should be reduced 15% less die cost. So these are the trends that people are working on for every 2 to 3 years. This is the goal set for them to decrease few things, right? What are the advances in CMOS fabrication technology? We have all studied in our engineering the MOSFET, the planar MOSFET, right? This planar MOSFET, where you have a source, a gate. This is called channel length. So from the simply again, I repeat, this is my source, drain. The distance between the source and drain is the channel length, right? This is the channel length. So if I tell you 28 nanometer, right? The distance between here to here is 28 nanometer, right? So there will be a gate. Applying the voltage for the gate, a channel will be enhanced. Where here you can see by the green line, a channel will be enhanced, and there's a path between the source and drain established. And then the current starts to flow. That was planar FETs, an NMOS, PMOS, which you have studied, right? Nowadays, we saw some problems with this planar MOSFET, especially second order effects, short channel effects, right? There is something called Dibble. So they were the issues in this planar FETs when the size was shrinking more than 28 nanometer. We saw some issues. So to solve those issues, a new structure of MOSFET has come up, which is called FinFET. So presently, what there in the market is FinFET. If I'm talking about 7 nanometer, 10 nanometer, they are all FinFETs. The FinFET structure is like this. You can see channel is pulled up like this, and you have gate on all the three sides. Here it was only on the top, but here it is on the three sides, left side, right side, and the top, like that. So it's easy to build the channel. Look at this. Here, this diagram, channel is on the top, sorry, gate is on the top, channel is below, and channel was enhanced here, right? Whereas in FinFET, this is your channel, and you have the gate electrode here, and your channel is getting sorry, yes, channel is getting established across here. So this is FinFET, right? Presently in the market, people are talking about FinFETs. Now, next to go ahead, they're talking about gate all around GAA cells, right? GAA. GAA is where you have the channel like this, and you have gate all around. Here, three sides. Here, only one side. Here, three sides. Now it is about all the sides. You have a gate. So easily, quickly, you can enhance the channel. That is gate all around. Samsung has started talking about MBC FET, where MBC stands for multi-bridge channel FETs. where you'll have channel will be in the form of nano uh, uh, nano sheet kind of so that will be your channel, multi-bridge channel FETs. Going ahead, Samsung has told they have built MBC FETs at 3 nanometers. There's one more research going on. We're using single electron as a transfer. See, when we say source and drain, the channel is established, a current flowing, thousands of electrons used to flow between channel, source and drain to say that current is flowing. Now people are working on single electron. Just one electron gets into drain and they say conduction is happening. Right? They are working on that. Simply to show you how year by year technology, and it is estimated to reach zero point 0.7 nanometer by 2034. To simply give a glimpse of what is this nanometer, if you consider your hair, right, human hair, the thickness or the diameter of the human hair is 70 microns. I repeat, 70 microns is your hair diameter, right? 70 microns, that means 70,000 nanometer. 70,000 nanometer. So your hair thickness is 70,000 nanometer. And I'm in 2020 talking about 7 nanometer or 5 nanometer. That means, so if I consider this as 7 nanometer, so your hair thickness is 70,000 nanometer, and my FET channel length is 7 nanometer, which is 10,000 times less than your hair diameter, right? Then there are advancements in the RAM also. See, RAM plays a major role in the chips. So you know SRAMs, DRAMs, right? And the people are trying different RAMs. Memory is a major concern, right? Today in the chips, right? So there are people are trying with different RAMs. There is a list of RAMs. With respect of time, I'll not take through this slide. So different slides, different RAM structures people are working on. Some more apart from transistor level, there is something called, when you want to do you might have heard of photolithography process, right? For a photolithography process, you have a mask, right? Light falls on it, a mask will develop the metal layers that you want, right? The the challenge was the wavelength of the light, the ultraviolet light that was used, right, has a bigger wavelength and is not able to fabricate my nanometer scales. So people are using extreme ultraviolet light for it. It's called EUV technology nowadays. And also people are working on something called as DTCO, where they can detect early in the early stage what can be the problem when it goes for a lithography process. Before going to lithography, they are identifying the issues that can come up, right? They are being planned using the process called DTCO. And nowadays they're planning of 3D integration. Why only this one plane, right? Can we have multiple planes? Vertically grow the transistors. They are thinking of that. That is 3D integration. And you saw that there is a dielectric below the gate, right? People are trying to use, other than silicon dioxide, they are trying to use high K gate, high dielectric constant dielectrics for it. And presently, for a metal layers, copper is being used. They are asking like copper has got more delay, more power. So can we think of non-copper solutions? So for a metal layer, can we use cobalt or ruthenium as a metal for routing purposes, right? And silicon is being presently used as a channel. People are thinking of silicon germanium material or only germanium material to build the channel. Then coming to the clock frequency, today chips are operating at 3.1 gigahertz kind of. People are thinking of higher frequencies to reach by next year's 2025. They're planning of 3.5 gigahertz. So you can see this diagram. We might have all seen this diagram. What is this? This is the first transistor, right? Which was built in 1947, right? I have some names. So you may remember these names. These were the people who built this transistor. They got Nobel Prize in 1958, if I'm not wrong, right? So 1947, they built this. 1958, they got Nobel Prize, all these three people, right? So from then to to this. What is this? This is the first IC, first integrated circuit. This was made by Kilby in 1958, right? So even he got Nobel Prize for getting this first IC, just a single transistor sitting in an integrated form, right? Then today we have this big designs. Our microprocessors are sitting on a single chip, right? So that's all about my trends and challenges and physical design. Before going to career opportunities, I would like to see any questions. Are you in sync with me? Are you in sync with me? Did you understand? Did you get some knowledge really out of it? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. Let me quickly look into what are the career opportunities for you people who are interested to work in physical design. Yes. How to pursue the career in VLSI? If you are still pursuing your engineering final year or pre-final year in BE or BTech or ME or MTech, right? You may look for campus placements at your colleges. Some good MNC companies based on VLSI comes and hires you as their intern or for full-time jobs. If you are not able to get in there, get a campus placement, or if our college doesn't do not have this placement opportunities through these VLSI companies, which is most of the case, we have some IT companies coming, but not VLSI companies coming to our colleges. You can try to go for an masters at some premium institutes like IITs or NITs. Try to get in there, or if any other college which has really good placement opportunities for VLSI, you please try them, right? Or you can also try going for an MS for some US or European universities, right? Usually, campus placements, if not MNCs, there are service companies like HCL, Wipro, they will also hire you. And they also have divisions for VLSI. Even Wipro has a division for VLSI, HCL has division for VLSI. So you can get into them. If you are not able to do any of these, I mean to say, no campus placements, or you are not interested to go for a master's, then you need to pursue some training in some training institutes, right? And then get the knowledge. I can simply say our knowledge is very bare minimum when we completed our engineering, right? To achieve that, you might need to go for a training institute and get the knowledge based on your interests. What interests you? The digital electronics, I asked you this question in the beginning. What interests you? What was the interest favorite subject of yours, right? Is it digital electronics or analog electronics, CMOS devices, or programming? Based on this interest, please choose the course. So I have the courses. If your interest is digital electronics and CMOS devices, then come for physical design. I repeat, if your interest is digital electronics and CMOS devices, come for physical design. Pursue a course in physical design. Try for jobs in physical design. If your interest is in analog electronics and CMOS devices, go for analog layout. Analog layout is again one more domain, right? You can pursue a course or try for jobs on it. If analog electronics, your AEC, network analysis, right? Those subjects motivated you, then go for analog layout. Then you are interested in, sorry, if you are interested in digital electronics, analog electronics, CMOS devices, all three are interesting, then DFT is one more domain, which I told you. They will introduce extra logic so that the chip can be tested, right? So you can try this. No, sir, I'm good at programming and digital electronics. Then you can definitely join a course like RTL and design verification. RTL, you can be an RTL engineer as well as DV, right? You can look into that if these are the interests. You can make a note of this if you are willing to, right? So choosing the courses, what is the career growth? How much salary will I get? End of the day, this is what interests, right? So there are some average salaries being described here. Just have a look at instead of me reading the numbers, right? For a physical design engineer as a fresher, 3 to 8 lakhs package. Even I have seen people getting 12 lakhs package as a fresher. As a fresher, my student recently got 12 lakhs package as a fresher, right? So these are the numbers. Finally, to conclude, a brief introduction about our chip edge. We are training partners of Synopsys. We do training on VLSI. It was founded by senior members of industry. We do offer courses in various domains of analog and digital. We have trained more than 1,600 students, right? We The trainers are from industry. They are like 10 plus, 15 plus, 20 plus experience in companies, uh, good MNC companies like Intel, Qualcomm companies, right? The greater advantage is you can work from home. We have 24 bar 7 VPN lab access, right? We are 8 years old. We are founded in October 2012, and we are right now located in HSR layout near Silk Board Junction. These are the various courses that we offer. We are specialized to offer these courses. No other course center can offer all these courses, like all variants you have, right? So you can look into what interests you. Please visit our website chipedge.com and look into the dates and the courses that we are offering, right? Our uh, what we really do is we have training for freshers, we have training for working professionals. For freshers it will be full day, like Monday to Friday classes. For working professionals we do classes on weekends, only Saturdays and Sundays. We have part tie-ups with corporates for trainings. We also visit educational institutes for if to conduct faculty development programs or student programs. We go there or they come to us and we conduct such events. Presently, we are feeling that most of you are freshers, right? We are having some full-time courses to come up with next month. One course on design for test, RTL design and verification, physical design, which are going to start from 15th September one batch and 12th October second batch. Right? Mode of training will be blended model. Blended, I mean to say, first four. It's a 5 months course. First 4 months will be an online course, and next one month will be either online or a classroom, depending on the corona or the COVID situations. If the COVID situations comes down, and the fifth month you are all welcome to our classroom trainings. We will do the project. If not, online will continue the fifth month, right? How is this blended learning model is instructor led. We will not have the recorded trainer sessions. We will trainer will be there as I'm talking to you. Trainer will be talking to you. You can post the questions, right? It's not a recorded. It's live sessions which happens from Monday to Friday, every day from Monday to Friday, 5 hours per day. You will have two access. Theory and lab sessions both will be running. As and when I complete a theory, lab will be continued, right? Hands-on, sufficient hands-on. We are targeting about 70, more than 70% of hands-on. And all this will be recorded. I mean to say, lecture, theory, labs are recorded and given to you to view. We have something called as LMS platform where we will be sharing these recorded things, right? And we have a WhatsApp group and a email groups for your queries. If you have any queries, you can post it in that. We can have a discussion. In the discussion, you'll have all your friends of the uh, uh, course, and along with the trainers. Both trainers means theory trainers and the lab assistants. Everyone will be there in the group. Just a quick glance, who are placed in last 2 months at this situation. Please mend the numbers at this situation during Corona, right? Our students have been placed. Right, this is a short list of students that are placed. To get a big list of students placed from ChipEdge, you please visit our website. Right, again I repeat, chipedge.com. Visit for who are being placed, which companies have been placed in. So what is the uniqueness of chip edges? Our trainers, as I told you, more than 10 plus. We have 20 plus, 25 plus. I have seen people from 20, 20 plus experience who are passionate to teach, comes to us. And the tools that we use are Synopsys tools. All the courses are designed by industry people. It's not some like what universities does, right? A teacher is designing the syllabus. No, it is also set by the industry. What is the current need, and they tell us to change the syllabus, and that is how it has been done. As I told, more than 70% time will be spent on tools. More than theory, it will be spent on the tools. The tools are costly. The tools are very costly. So the time that you spend on the tool is very valuable. And again, to say that the courses are VLSI courses are costly compared to your any software courses is just because of the tools. Tools are very costly. Placement assistance is given for full-time courses, right? Coming to my PD, what are the softwares that I'm using? Those who are interested in what tools are we using, are licensed, recent versions, latest versions that Synopsys releases, we install them, right? So these are the tools that we are using for digital design. VCS is the tool. For synthesis, we have design compiler. For LEC, we have formality. For timing analysis, we have prime time. Physical design, ICC compiler 2, especially 2 I mentioned. Most of the training institutes are using the older versions of ICC. We are using ICC compiler 2. And for RC extraction, we are using star RC. And physical verification, IC validator. See, these are the tools from Synopsys. These are the tools from Synopsys, right? Placement assistance, definitely you will be, we will look into that you get a place somewhere, all right? Interviews for you will be arranged. Cracking the interviews is up to your knowledge. To support for that, we will be providing you soft skill training, mock interviews. The soft skill will be taken by leading corporate trainers only, and mock interviews will be again from industry experts. Not someone comes and does the mock interview. It's the industry professionals will come and do you the mock interviews, right? A special opportunity for MTech students who are looking for an internship for their final year, right? They need a internship. They can join the course and they can continue for extra 2 months. See, for others, 5 months. For MTech students who are willing for an internship, for them it is extra 1 more month, and we will provide you a certificate like you had done the internship. So 4 months of course, 2 months, two different projects. One in the final month, you'll be doing some big project so that you can conclude as an internship. This is for MTech students who are in the first year and want to go to second year, right? So, many universities, internship is a compulsory. Who can join this course? We are looking into freshers who have been graduated in 2019 or 2020 now. We want those people to join. And MTech graduates, again 2019 or later, 2019 or 2020, right? I believe all your exams are about to go within this month or next month in September. Are experienced engineers who are working other than VLSI or faculty members from engineering colleges wants to switch to VLSI. Maybe any graduation before 18 or earlier can show interest in doing these courses. The course fees are so for RTL, actually regular fees before COVID, it was 90,000. Now it has been reduced to 62,000. DFT and PD were 1 lakh, right? We have run so many batches with this fees, 1 lakh of fees. Now due to COVID, we are providing it at 65,000, right? GST is applicable, right? There are discounts that we are offering. A discount for top performers who perform well in the written test and interviews. Okay, I have next slide, how we recruit you or how you can get into the course, right? Early bird discounts are also there. Group discounts are also there. Group discounts, I mean to say, many people like three or four of you are interested to join, come together and join the course and avail the discounts. See, we are so professional in reaching to you. We are 100% money back guarantees provided. If you are not happy with the course, 100% money back, right? It's not just a word I'm throwing you. right? We will definitely have a 100% money back guarantee. For this, please talk to our coordinators. Go to our website, get the coordinators numbers, or I will share you the numbers, right? You can talk to them about the discounts or money back guarantee, whatever, right? So what is the admission process? You'll have a written test. See, we don't want to take anyone who is interested or anyone who is ready to pay the fees. No, we want you to clear the written test. The written test is on aptitude, digital electronics, CMOS fundamentals. What is required for these courses? The fundamentals requirement will be tested, and we will have a interview to test your learning ability in your engineering, how much you are passionate towards VLSI, right? And your communication skills as well. So, looking at this only, we are giving you the admissions. It's not just you have an amount and you can come into Chipet's course. No, right? Okay, thanks for that's all I have for today. And the next webinar is scheduled. This is mainly for people who are looking into RTL and verification. For them, it is the need for robust verification in VLSI designs, which is scheduled for next Saturday, same timing, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Make a note. It's next week, 8th August 2020. Time is 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I think you'll get the links for this similarly where you got, right? Or hope those who all joined for this, you'll receive an email to join to this webinar. Right, with that, I would like to conclude. This is my office details. The office is located at HSR layout, very close to Silkboard Junction. Right, make a note of our telephone numbers. Right, these are our Faiza and Deepak are our course coordinators, learning coordinators. Make a note of these numbers to inquire about the courses. I leave the slide for a minute. Make a note of phone numbers.